So I got a question regarding, all right, so it's a hypothetical question, but I'm pretty sure like that's probably the situation. So I got a question about, okay, so let's say that you're a consultant and you start working at Telia in this situation, and they use Angular and they're moving over to Angular 2. So the architect has made this decision, and then there's this little team in all those teams that they have that starts like they start leveraging React and they start moving to React. How do you feel about that? That was a question I got in an interview, and the way that I answered was basically I said that it's a very difficult question to answer, but because it depends on the motivation behind the movement. So if an architect has told me that, yeah, let's like the guy who says let's standardize Telia on Angular, I argue that he has a very poor understanding of the ecosystem and what's going on in the front-end development right now. Now, that's my argument. If you're standardizing on Angular, your like entire gigantic corporation is standardizing on Angular, and you're already moving over to Angular 2, that you've clearly made the wrong decision. It's not like there's really no nice way to put it. So Angular is the wrong decision in my opinion. It's not the best option. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that if you had the decision to make between Angular and React, you should have gone right to React, and that's easy to say for me now in hindsight. But I don't know what the situation was for them when the decision was made. But it's made. So now you've standardized on Angular. You have all these teams working all these products. They're all made in Angular, and standardization is really great. There's a lot of benefit to it. So now you have this other team. You start thinking about React and say, okay, is this a good or bad thing? What's the question? And I said, well, if the team that uses React has realized that there are they do it not because they just like React, but because they are really senior, they know what they're doing, they understand that the benefits that come with React and the ecosystem that is Redux, Jest, and all Webpack, and all the stuff that the modern day web application, the front-end developers are using, these tools. If they understand the core idea behind this, they are making a good decision. If they're just using it because, yeah, I prefer that framework over that framework, then it makes no sense. Absolutely, it's a bad idea. But then the question becomes, is it worth it? Because I argue that the strength of these ideas is, or rather the power of like what React has brought to the table, and these principles, is the right mindset. They have the right ideas. They have influenced the way that the front-end development and like all the web-based programming is moving by a lot. And like these ideas, they're not unique to React. It's just that React did it pretty right from the beginning, and that's kind of like, that's what I'm saying. Like if you have the option of getting the perfect, so like the people using the thing that does it right from the start, you should do that. But you can still adopt these principles and put them into the Angular code base. However, the question becomes, why would you stick with Angular if you have to? It's like if you have the perfect thing, why use something that is almost as good and basically steal all the ideas to just make it work? And in this scenario, like usually I would say it doesn't make any sense, but in this scenario it actually does, because the cost of migrating from Angular for such a large company over to React will be immense. It will be massive. So it remains to be seen whether that's the right call. It's a very difficult thing to decide, because on the one hand, yeah, Angular is probably going to be around for quite a while because it has Google behind it. But on the other hand, what happens if your requirements changes? And because Angular is a very close ecosystem, it's not something that you kind of just add stuff into. It's pretty Java-ish or .NET-ish. You buy into the whole thing. But there are risks with that, and I'm not honestly, I have no idea how it's going to turn out for them. I think it's going to work long term, but I don't know. And yeah, that's basically my feelings on like this idea. Okay, like if you are a developer and you come to a company, do you see, like, have a look at what they're doing. Like, what should be your call? Should you migrate something over to something that's better, or should you try to fix things as is? My ruling on this is one, anticlimactic as it is it depends. It really depends. If you are informed and you really know, like you can prove that there is a long-term benefit to migrating, then do the migration. But don't do it without really thinking it through, because remember, migrating your personal little project is one thing. Migrating a gigantic corporation with hundreds of projects and like several teams, and like, I mean, the investment you're going to do is massive, like even at the political level. I mean, if you even get to a point where you're actually getting some code written, you have won more than half the battle, because you're going to have to convince like 100 people who are paid like 3 or 4 times as much as you are, even though they probably know less about development, that the thing that you're doing, well, that's probably the best thing for the project.